This is Louis. Why don't you head on over to Play Asia and check out the ultimate summer sale that they're having right now, up to 90% off on a whole lot of games that you may want to play. If you're not interested in that, check out my other affiliate, JList. Whether it's Play Asia or JList, use the links in the description of this video because you help support my channel. If you don't feel like buying anything, head on over to Patreon and support me there. It's only Patreon now, and it's not my fault for that. But hey, what can you do? If you don't like Patreon, well, there's not much else you can do for me at this current moment in time. But why not just think about giving Patreon a second chance? I did, and so far they haven't really done many stupid fucking things. But hey, it's up to you. Thanks for listening. The links are in the description, as I believe I've already said. Let's head right on into the video. So this is Louis, and I got some time in the morning before I have to head out, and I'll be gone in fucking Rochester for the rest of the day. But I wanted to talk about the video that I just uploaded, which is posing as politically illiterate, and it's about Tucker Carlson and Jason Whitlock on Fox News. I know that people are going to see this as really a small issue because of just in American lexicon, in the colloquial term for a leftist, a left-wing person, or a Democrat, someone that votes Democrat, is liberal. And they don't mean it in the traditional sense, the politically literate sense. They mean liberal, where it is just this vague term that has been popularized. And I got an email from somebody that said that they are a conservative in their 40s, and they like my channel, they like Sargon. They still consider themselves to be conservative, but they like the debate between the conservatives and the liberals, the actual liberals. They like that split. They like the debate to be in that frame because they know that at the end of the day that it's just a difference in terms of priority and of personal philosophy, but it's not a debate where we're basically fighting each other to the death, where we're going to be divided utterly and we're trying to take each other's rights away. He's a lot more comfortable with the debate being centered around philosophy rather than, rights. But the reason why he emailed me was to say that he believes, and I don't know this because I'm not in my 40s, that the reason why today we use a liberal as this general catchphrase for people that distinguish themselves from being liberal, and we'll get to that in a second, what I mean by that. But the reason why is because of Rush Limbaugh. Rush Limbaugh and right-wing radio, back in the day, we're talking about like the 90s, that word became popularized by them. It was a misnomer, but it became a general colloquial term for leftist, was liberal. And since then, hosts who do not respect their audiences just use that word instead of saying leftist or the correct word, which would be progressive, which has been a universally popularized term since 2010, 2008 maybe. It is ubiquitous on the left to use that term, but still, for whatever reason, in the conservative commentary field, they still use the term liberal, despite it being not only just a misnomer, but wildly inaccurate to describe who they're speaking about. When you're talking about progressives and their dogmatic behavior and mindset, and you say liberal, you are inaccurate. Progressives listening to you are going to say, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a neoliberal, I'm a progressive. They will tell you that. And it's unfortunate that both Tucker Carlson and Jason Whitlock, who I've seen talk about this before, they know the difference. They understand the difference between leftist politics generally, liberals, and liberalism, what it actually means, and progressives and progressivism. They know the difference between these things. They know that not every leftist is a progressive, that every progressive is in fact a leftist, but that liberalism
is actually distinct from progressivism, because progressivism is not a liberal philosophy. They know these things. Both Jason and Tucker Carlson know the difference. But for whatever reason, for the last few days, if you watch their show, and the fact that Jason has been on Tucker Carlson's show repeatedly recently, they both continue to use liberalism over and over and over again while they're lecturing their audiences. And it's like, for a fact that it is a misnomer. You are using that word incorrectly. You know that you are using a colloquial substitute for leftist, but for whatever reason, you simply cannot use the correct word.
That is our word. You've got no right using it.
I've had people tell me, one in a written email that was several paragraphs long, explaining that this is because of right-wing radio, making this a very general term. But the thing is, that's for older people. That's for older audiences. People in their 40s and beyond are the ones that have that fucking driven into their minds. Tucker Carlson has a distinctly younger audience compared to any other right-wing host. And yet he's still using these old words, these misnomers, to describe something that is extremely modern. Why? Why do you pretend to be politically illiterate? And you do yourself a disservice when you do this. When your audience, your misinformed audience, meets somebody that is a progressive and is a very knowing progressive, someone that is not just your average idiot fucking college student, and they try to argue with them, they're going to lose that fucking argument. Here's how it starts. Ready? Hey there, you fucking liberal. You want to ban this, you want to do that, you want to take away my rights, blah, 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 blah. Oh, I'm not a liberal, I'm a progressive. No, you're a liberal. No, I'm not, I'm a progressive. Oh, well then where do you go? Where do you go from there? Where do your talking points go from there? It's amazing to me how many intelligent guests Tucker can have on that make very salient points, and you note that they don't use the wording correctly. He just had a host on who's a writer for some right-wing rag, but very smart, very well-written, very intelligent, understands what's going on, understands that this is rooted in academia, understands the matter, doesn't use the misnomer, doesn't use liberal, because she knows it's the incorrect term to use. It just allows Tucker to go on and on and on using the wrong word, doesn't correct him. The reason why she wants to come back, that's why she doesn't correct him. It's an ego thing. But the fact is that you are misinforming your fucking audience. You are misinforming your fucking audience. And when they go out to argue with people, they're going to be unable to. They don't understand the correct words to use because you are misinforming them. If they run into Dave Rubin, if they run into Sargon of Akkad, if they run into the liberals generally that are showing up to these free speech rallies, if they show up to one of these rallies and they hear Sargon say, oh, I'm a liberal, and they snaps in their mind, red meat time, you're a liberal? It's like, okay, well, already we're starting off on the wrong foot because this person's been misinformed. This person's in the fucking 90s, where liberal meant something completely fucking different, where in modern times, the progressives have separated themselves from liberalism. They have said outright, we are progressives, we are not liberal. Our philosophy is not liberalism. We are leftists, but we are not liberal. You hear this from them. Jimmy Dore just had like 4 fucking socialist authors and so-called intellectuals on his show saying over and over and over again that they are not liberal. Over and over again, that was their point. That liberal economics and liberal principles and liberalism is not their philosophy. And yet, you're going to go out there and say, these people are liberal, when they specifically tell you they are not liberals. They are specifically socialists and progressives. You're going to hear that from them and go, they're the liberals. No, they're not. You wonder why conservatives lose elections, why conservatives lose arguments, why conservatives lost academia, lost society, lost culture. You wonder why. It's such an irritating thing. It's such an easily avoidable thing. You have yourself in this mindset of fighting in a bygone era. You know, George H.W. Bush is not the fucking president. Dick Cheney is not the fucking vice president. We are not in this time where you can debate in this manner, where it's this very bourgeois fucking New York Times author versus a very bourgeois, bow tie wearing Tucker Carlson back in the day. That is not the era in which we live. Okay? Progressivism has taken over. We are in a distinctly different era. When you're going out there using incorrect terminology, debating people on points that makes you look stupid, you are going to lose those arguments as a result, because all they have to do is trip you up. And then where do you go from there? Where do you go when you show up sounding like a total fucking retard because you are not using the correct language in which to identify your opponent? Let's say this is the setup. We're on a stage. It's a conservative, it is a liberal, and it is a progressive. If there are conservatives in the audience, how the fuck are they going to know the difference between a liberal and a progressive if you are fucking misinforming them? If they sit there, there's a liberal and a progressive, I don't understand. They're all liberal. They're all, I don't know what's going on. I've been misinformed. This is the problem. I don't know what to say, because conservatives are doing their own disservice. It's like, do you want progressives to win? Is that the thing? If your audience is totally unprepared for this intellectual debate, for this philosophical debate, if they're completely misinformed and unprepared for this, why do you expect to win? How? When you are specifically misinforming them, when you are confusing the fucking matter. If somebody is out there arguing for liberal economics, and someone says, oh, does that mean socialism? No, it doesn't! How do you expect to win this if your audiences are completely confused? And the reason why they're confused is you've confused them. You've put this false information into their minds. You're going out there talking about this collectivist ideology known as liberalism. And it's like, God, what is fucking wrong with you? I know that the founding fathers were traditionalists, loyalists, and conservative. Those are the things to describe the founding fathers, and the founding ideology of America is conservatism and traditionalism. That is the thing that describes the founding fathers. When I look at the Constitution, I don't think of liberalism. I'm sorry, I know that this is just a derogatory rant, but I don't know what you want me to do in this situation, I'm not the guy being paid millions of dollars to misinform people and make them fucking ignorant and put them in a position so that they can lose arguments. Because they're shadowboxing. And when they go out there, they're going to get their asses kicked in any kind of intellectual argument because they're confused. They're going to be completely confused. I swear to God, man, I don't know how to put it. It's like conservatives have to get into the modern era. We can't be stuck in the 90s anymore. You want this to be Republicans versus Democrats. That's the debate you want to have. You want this to be red team, blue team. That's not the matter anymore, okay? We are living in a day and age where you have nationalist Republicans, nationalist conservatives debating national or internationalist Republicans and internationalist conservatives. You see that in the modern era. You see a clash between, even on the right, internationalist and nationalist. And if you're just out there going conservative, Republican, we all think the same, that is not true. And how do you expect to get anywhere? How do you expect to actually win any kind of argument? How do you actually expect to win against the left, the regressive lunatic left, if you're going to sit there and create confusion? You're going to put out misnomers in misinformation and language that is incorrect, specifically inaccurate, to confuse the entire fucking thing, when the people you want to go against are very informed, very knowledgeable, understand language and use it for political ends. When you're the person creating confusion, you're helping them, you're enabling them. You give progressives power when it's just yeah, this is liberalism. It's why don't you just hand the entire left to them. If I wanted to hurt Republicans, hurt conservatives, I just go, yeah, neoconservatism and internationalist conservatism, the craziest, like, least principled forms of conservatism, that's conservatism. That's just, there is no such thing as nationalism or constitutionalism, like that kind of attitude, or libertarianism. None of that exists. It's just, there's one style of conservatism, and it's neoconservatism. That's the only form of it. I'm going to pretend as though that there's no other deviation in right-wing politics. The alt-right and the neocons, that's just conservatism. White nationalists and warhawks, that's just conservatism as a whole. No other form of it exists. And I'm going to pretend that that's fucking intellectually honest.
There are three problems with America today. The woman, the Negro, and the Jew.
That's how to lose a fucking debate. That's how to lose a cultural battle. That's how to lose. And the thing is, what you're doing is you're alienating people like me that are otherwise on your side. I'm not in favor of lunatic Marxists overtaking the country. I'm not for that. I'm against that. And yet you're alienating me. You're putting me in the same grouping as Marxists and socialists. That's what you're doing. I'm not doing that. That's what you're doing. You're lumping me into a group of fucking Marxists and totalitarians. Why? It's unnecessary. You're just demonizing and alienating people like me who don't like these people. It's completely disrespectful, counterproductive to what your end goal is, to what your interests are. And it's to pretend that the left is entirely monolithic, which you better hope not. You better hope the left is not entirely monolithic, because that spells your doom. You put yourself in this position to pretend to be politically ignorant. For the sake of what? How does this help you? How does it help you to do this, to be misinformative? How does it help you to be misinformative to your audience, to the right, to people listening to your channel or to your show? How does this help you? In my opinion, this is nothing more than intellectual cowardice. That's what I think is driving this. That's what I think it is. You think, Tucker and Jason, that your audience is fucking stupid. So you just use these words, these old colloquial terms, in order to just try to get your audience to understand basic things. Because you think it's the bigotry of low expectations. You think your audience is fucking retarded, when it's not. We live in 2018. It's the current year, as it's often said. It's not 1994. Stop speaking in this way. Stop misinforming your audience. Stop being counterproductive to what the overall struggle is. The New York Times just had this big op-ed detailing all these people that are standing up to progressives. Half of them are fucking liberals. Half of them are principled liberals, but you don't give a shit about that, apparently. Apparently you want to broad brush them. It's just, you're all liberals. You're all liberals, including the fucking Marxists trying to destroy your life and potentially harm you physically. No, you're all liberals. Stop being a fucking retard, Tucker. Okay? We both know you're better than this and smarter than this. We both know that you're fucking pretending to be stupid. Stop it. It is counterproductive, alienating, and it is specifically harming the conservatives from being able to understand the modern era of politics. You are misinforming to their detriment and your detriment, your audience. Knock it the fuck off.